how to learn. An active educational co-creation for the third millennium. Part 2. Why are today's children so different? How can I interact with my students in a better way? How can I be a mother or a father nowadays? How can I encourage any talents I see in boys, girls and adolescents? All these questions have their answers with Pedagogy 3000. Noemí Paymal and her team have developed this proposal after direct observation during more than 7 years of multidisciplinary research, which gives us the right attitude and impulse we need to flow in harmony in these times of transition. What to do and what not to do? Well, there's a first rule which is very easy. It's for parents and teachers. Go back to your own childhood. And with as much honesty as possible, and this goes with love and tenderness, make a list of all the things you didn't like. You can fill a page, 2 pages, 3 pages, all the things I didn't like about my own education. And then, as simple as that, I make the promise, I have the courage, I have the strength to break away from that chain and do what I would have liked. I step into the child's shoes and start off from there. The other way is to see what the children are like, as we have seen. If we have a well-developed child, an independent one, we obviously need a kind of education where he can do research, where he's the protagonist of his own education. And if we do well as a teacher, we have less work to do. We can ask him to find out about things, to talk about his findings, to do his own exploring, and then share what he has learned with the rest of the class. That's fantastic and should be done from primary school. Educate stems from a word that means to bring out what you have within. But if you are very rigid with a child, he won't be able to bring anything out. Why is that? Because we have a lot of information in our genetic code, in our DNA, way back in the past. So we don't need to stuff the child up with facts, put more and more information inside his head. On the contrary, we have to try to help bring out the knowledge he has within. If we have children who are much more sensitive, who have a much more acute perception, imagine what it must be like to be so sensitive, to perceive everything, to feel everything, to be conscious of what's happening to our environment, or at a political level, to be conscious of your own heart, of your emotions, to know how your neighbor's dog feels. These children are able to perceive much more than we think of. And this is a big responsibility for us too. So we provide them with an emotionally stable environment. They need that stability. And that means, of course, no shouting, no blackmail, no physical violence, and no emotional manipulation. Stability and honesty are essential, at least on the part of those adults who are in their closest circle: father, mother, teachers and family. It has been seen, especially in children who are in a special situation, how this sort of work helps them overcome the situation in a way that, even for us, has no explanation other than love. And they can see so much more, whether they can read or not, whether they can write or even talk or not, because they have another form of communication. They have a very special vibration. So then, if we limit ourselves to what we see, well, we'll miss the most important thing in each one of them. When these children feel someone takes them into account, understands and sees them in any way, they begin to reach agreements with this vibration, which is much denser. So, well, they start achieving different things than those expected of a child or student from the point of view of this humanity on the surface, right? In the third place, if we have children whose brain hemispheres are naturally synchronized, then it means we have to make sure we stimulate the right brain from ages 0 to 10. Otherwise, this right hemisphere will lose its capacity, and we'll lose the ability, for example, for language learning or music. It involves power, creativity and flexibility, being able to invent things, arts, exploration and movement. It means providing a class and a house where the child can move, can go to a park, can attend a class while he's standing, or even do so while he's lying on the floor. The child needs to be much more aware of his body and of movement. Thus, education needs to be kinesthetic. Whenever we're in the presence of a highly developed emotional intelligence, the educational approach requires lots of action. The child himself will tell you this, right? What's this for? Or a teenage girl might say, if this is no use for me, I won't do it. Where everything is productive, active, from making bread to doing carpentry. We go beyond the intellectual level. We make things happen. We bring ideas to fruition. We go from ideas to action. Oh, this is good. Making mental maps instead of delivering the class linearly. Let's see, children. 1, 2, 3, all at the same time. A mental map. Besides, it's better for you so as not to get lost. Or like me, I get lost in explanation and then at least I can get back. And also in a mandala shape, which is what Yvette always does. She presents the class in the shape of a mandala, which also helps create harmony, and you understand better. It's good to have an open mind in education. We have to step out of the traditional classroom. Chalk is great, but when we paint on the floor, for instance, when we draw on the floor, children free themselves from limitations and they see words on the floor. But of course, for that to happen, we need teachers to make a big shift and open up to other techniques. I believe that's the idea, isn't it? Creative techniques. Personally, I feel that the act of making and painting a mandala is a meditation. So we played music low and they focused on their work for half an hour, calmly painting on the floor, making their own mandala. Always work with multiple intelligences. Include ecology. At least once a week have them do something outdoors regarding ecology. Foster community work, perhaps your neighborhood. Focus on multicultural awareness wherever you are. Learn about other cultures, about your own people, your country's culture and other countries as well, with the purpose of creating, more than a democracy, a planetary brotherhood. An awareness of the whole planet. These children already have this consciousness, and that has to be included in education. A good piece of advice I can give parents and teachers is the following. Relax. Take a good breath and start enjoying the process of education. 2. You can follow your intuition too, and what your heart tells you. Sometimes we have the solutions to any type of situation, but we find it hard to go deep into the heart of the matter. So why don't we let that part express itself too? And in any case, we can always follow the usual rules. Strengthen the child's self-esteem, address him by name, make sure you notice his work, tell him constantly that he is appreciated, loved, that we love him very much. The way we greet them, being simply human, treating each other like friends, like people who like each other. And something important to bear in mind, No forms of punishment, no rewards, no manipulation of any kind. One of the obligations in Uruguay is in the system of flag bearers, competition, right? That is to say, the best student, the best classmate, the rule of the best in Uruguay.
In INCRE, there are no flag bearers. If there were to be any, then we would all be flag bearers. Preparing teachers for this task requires them to be willing to try something completely new and different. What we are doing in INCRE is training work with community awareness, where we all are teachers and trainees at the same time. And what we see is great eagerness. Many teachers are tired of the traditional system and they have a natural willingness to try new ways and techniques. Children are always ahead of us. In a way, they are the ones that are inspiring and encouraging us.
Let them do things themselves. Be firm but not dominant nor authoritarian like in the past, when it was based on fear and we tried to manipulate them. Now it's horizontal and based on love. Respect. Set the example. That's a good thing to remember. The child will do what you do, not what you say. Always. And he won't do what you say if you don't do that. So, setting the example is one of the nicest tools. The important thing about spending time with them is how you spend it, not how long. So whatever time you spend with them, whether it's half an hour, 20 minutes in the evening, a hug before bedtime, make sure it's a special moment, time you spend exclusively with them. Give them your undivided attention. Respect space limits. These children also need time on their own, time when they, so to speak, recharge their batteries. Respect their biorhythm and also their sleeping time, their meals, if they want to eat, if they don't. Let them be. They follow their biorhythm and we are not going to cling to all rules. Especially regarding food and sleep. Don't make comparisons. Don't be strict all the time. If we expect something from them, let it be reasonable. Encourage responsibility, but don't overreact. Don't hide things from them because they will notice that. And have fun together. So that's a small foundation to start with.
Y dos, y tres. ¿Qué tiene la sopa del bebé? ¿Qué tiene la sopa del bebé? ¿Será que tiene rabanito? ¿Será que tiene heladito? ¿Será que tiene canela? ¿Será que tiene berenjena? Y un, y dos, y tres.
El maestro saca y el niño también saca.
The teacher brings things out, and the child brings things out. And the child is amazing. When one works with children, one notices that the child is the real teacher, because he begins to teach you things you hadn't noticed before. When the primary school teacher, the secondary school teacher, or the parent becomes aware of the child's wisdom, and he lets him be, he lets him talk, and then he says, "Look, I'm going to start a project. I have something in mind. What would you say if I did such a thing?" And he starts asking the child for advice. Well, you will see how much wisdom there is in that child. The child, any of them, is just waiting for you to open a door for the child to step into your world. And when you become aware of this and allow him to walk right through, you will witness how he expresses all that he is. To sum up then, let's have a look at the 7 pillars of Pedagogy 3000 and review the key points. 1. We are interested in today's child. Please, let's do research, let's listen and try to understand who this child is, paying attention to him, to what he's like, what he wants, what new education he needs, and making our own adjustment to meet this child. I mean children who were born after the year 2000, even though young people and many of us today share these characteristics too. 2. We are keen on exploring new tools. We're going to continue using cognitive tools, but we'll try to turn them into games. We are still resorting to guidelines and tools regarding emotional intelligence, but we're willing to try the new ones. Biogames, biointelligent techniques, all sorts of tools that encourage the use of the body, of the mind, the spiritual aspects such as mandalas, martial arts. New tools and those that are not so new, but which are interesting because they foster the development of the person as a whole. They are easy to use and are quite inexpensive. The other tools we're trying to implement are the so-called intuitive or biomorphic, where we're dealing with the energetic part of children, and bioreconnective tools that appeal to the link between mind and heart, therefore reinforcing or waking the spiritual side. 3. We are obviously interested in all those things that have to do with an integral life and lots of action. We have noticed that today's child needs movement, action, research, whatever is concrete and productive, and current. When education limits its scope to cognitive skills, knowing that there exist multiple intelligences, this means it just remains at the level of cognitive knowledge and it cannot apply what it has learnt, so it is 49% away from its goal. 4. The other important issue is the well-being of parents, mothers, fathers and teachers. We are genuinely interested in personal growth, in harmony, in the possibility of working without stress and among adults who are happy while they support their children. And that makes a big difference, and it will change your life and my life. And we can transform that wave, this home that can turn into a nightmarish experience sometimes, and it might transform us in return into something very beautiful, and that is the goal for all of us. 5. We are interested in something that isn't new. In fact, it has been around for about 20 years. We want to recover all multiple intelligences, since we're doing so well within the wave, in the house. Recover the part of music, intrapersonal, interpersonal, music, movement, visual capacities, logic and mathematics, verbal, linguistics, nature-minded, besides the new ones, emotional, intuitive, practical and co-creative. There's much to explore here, and the new education is taking that path too. Another interesting point is number 6. We don't need to do everything from scratch. There's lots of methodology, pedagogy, educational centers that already have wide experience, such as Waldorf Montessori, Kilpatrick, active education, education by project. We can apply the best of those methods, accept the ones from the past, the present, and the ones that are beginning to form and build something based on all we know, so that we are able to treat this child with love, with affection, seeing him as a whole, and considering this child as the center of this education. We are doing well, and we have recovered a lot of techniques and methodologies, including Point 7, ancestral ones. For example, in Latin America there's a lot of pedagogy stemming from native peoples. For instance, we can recover this, that is, not recover but bring back to life, meet this part again, and focus on multicultural aspects in education. Multicultural life within the native peoples and other cultures around the world, so that the synthesis of all these 7 points may lead to someone who simply is, to a wise person, to someone who goes beyond the world of the intellect and reaches the world of the heart, and from here he reaches out to the world of spirit. This wise person is the one we are reaching out to with this education. We look forward to children, adolescents and adults blossoming like whole human beings and expressing their full potential and spiritual life as active protagonists, conscious of the new humanity. We hope this is so.
Oh mami será, oh mami cas. Oh mami será, oh mami cas. Sodia fabulo di fayer chorola. Sodia ye, sodia inagambia. Coco inaco, soyango, coco inaco, soyango, coco inaco, soyango, coco inaco, soyango. Fatto io, si diadi all'anno. 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 Fatto feife, fatto crema, io fatto io, si diadi all'anno. Butumbele, 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 butumbele. Oh mami sera, oh mami casa.